First place we need to visit right out of the gate is the administration module. Okay? And
are you in my account?
I am in your account.
Okay. I'll just follow along and watch.
So one of the things we need to consider right out of the gate is I'm gonna skip destinations right now. I'm gonna go to it next. But under required fields and customizations, so you have these checked: city code and county code. We don't have any reports in the system that actually pull from these. However, there are a couple states, I think North Carolina, California maybe, there's a couple states that these are, regardless of what you check here, they're automatically turned on if you have our EMS suite, for reporting, because the state requires it. Now, some billing companies also require it as well. And so you have it checked already. So which tells me either you need to capture it in your organization or your billing company does. I don't know if Utah, when the EMS is turned on, if they require this or not, but it is.
Well, isn't that a requirement? I think in the NEMSIS 3 thing, it's a requirement.
No, it's not.
On Basic 3, because it.
So if we were to uncheck, so let's take a look for your state. It's not a NEMSIS 3 field requirement. So. So like if we were to go to an incident, and before I do this, I need to get your permission, and we'll block this out. We're recording this, but if we do post this, we will, okay, good. There's probably...
That's the one I'm looking at right now, is that top one.
There's no patient here, so we're good. Here, city and county code. See how it's red? Now, it could be red because you've checked this. So let's uncheck this and refresh and see what we got. This will tell me if your state requires it. All right, so I just refreshed and it's unchecked. So this tells me that Utah requires this. So regardless of what you check there, looks like these are always on. Krista, can you confirm that? Is there a way you can confirm that for us?
Yeah, I can definitely look into that for sure, and I'll get back to you.
Yeah, no worries. I just figured this looks like one of those states. Let me just make sure refresh. It needs more than. It doesn't need more than just a refresh, because I unchecked those, and that's an auto-saved page. Yeah, your state requires it. So no matter what you do, because you have EMS, you need to have these fields. It looks like, and unless Krista lets us know otherwise, it doesn't matter what you check here. So we'll just leave it as is. They're still going to be required fields. So no matter what, if your billing company needs it, it's going to be there because the report writer can't complete the report until those two fields are completed.
Right. Okay.
So you're good to go there. Zones, and you got all the right boxes checked there for normal incidents. And then the two things here, and I'm going only a little out of order, only because we're in the required fields and customizations right now. As it pertains to billing, there are some odometer readings that are required, and that can be set to be required. So what this means is, under the dispositions here, so on the first page, the first panel of the ePCR, it asks for the disposition, and so you can select these in one or more or all of these boxes, and it will require an odometer reading and have a setting for maximum allowable transport miles.
Okay.
The next one are medical billing districts. Again, this is typically dependent upon your billing company, and if they have a field called billing district, so it could be a patient in your jurisdiction, it could be a patient out of your jurisdiction, it could be other districts, based on how they manage their billing, and it's as simple as clicking Add Medical Billing District, and then the nomenclature should match what your billing company has, if they have this at all, and then this will become a field if you transport or all patients or never. So if it's never, it's not going to show up at all now. But if you transport, it will become a required field, and if it's for all patients, it will be required for all patients. And that's so the billing company can manage it from the so-called medical billing district. Now, your billing company may not need that. That's just something Veronica probably could enlighten us on that, because every billing company is a little different.
She doesn't think we have billing districts. We have mapping districts, but we don't have billing districts. She just said so.
Got it.
We're
so
good.
Your geographical response zones are already covered in Basic Info 3, and in the event that you did use this, it would appear in the response, in the billing panel, in the response and transportation section, and we can take a peek at those later on, but that's where it appears. Any questions on this part? And then guys on our team, anything you'd like to add that I might have missed?
I don't have a question.
Okay, team, anything that you'd like to add?
If I start, I guess if I start doing this, I'm going to have to do. Really, the only thing I'm going to have to change is on the odometer readings and on a disposition of when we transport. That I'd have to select that in there.
On this page, yeah, on this particular section. Correct, right. Yeah.
Okay.
On required fields and customizations, yeah. Yep. So, Mike, were you going to say something, or Todd?
Nope. I'm good.
Okay, guys. And, you know, we're a team, so chime in anytime on any of this. Okay. Bouncing back out to admin. We're going to go up to destinations. Now, I'm willing to bet this is probably already configured for you guys. Oh, yeah. So, what hospital?
If it wasn't, Felicia would be yelling at me.
Yeah.
Felicia's our state person.
Yeah, Felicia. Greg Anderson has mentioned her before. Right.
I'll bet he has.
In a good way, actually. So tell me, which hospital do you transport to the most? Roughly.
Sorry, Davis Hospital, number 1.
Number 1. Okay, so I'm just going to go click into that. So the really key takeaways here, and I have to consider the broader audience because we're also recording this for other agencies to watch. The key is to get all your red fields entered. You're no longer NEMSIS 2, so it's not required, but it's still listed here because we've got that overlap, and you may need to still submit NEMSIS 2 data, so this still applies. And these two lists are actually different. Here's your list for NEMSIS 2, okay, and here's your list for destination types for NEMSIS 3, so a little shorter list. Who knew that NEMSIS 3 could actually get simpler in one field?
That's the only field.
Pretty much, that I know of. Because you got your county, you got your designations, you got your zones in here. This is just for Utah, but it is common in other states too, is that the export-specific code is different on the NEMSIS 2 drop-down than it is for the NEMSIS 3 state agency code here as well. So some departments still, or some states still have both of these fields, and yours is one of them. But as long as your red fields are filled out, Scott, you guys are good to go. And I know this is data that billing companies want to know about.
Okay.
Veronica's nodding her head right now, I imagine.
She is.
Okay. That's destinations. Guys on the team, any other points you want to make here?
Hey, Tom, Mark, I want to mention one thing. They have it filled out, and to point out to you is under county. That field is not required in the record here, nor is hospital designation, but in the ePCR, those are both required. So they've got it filled out correctly for county and something checked in hospital designation. So that'll autofill for you in the PCR. You won't have to select it. So that's a good job on their part. Great point. Thanks, Mark.
Or if I don't know if my comments are going to be in part of the video, but for those of people that are just setting this up, you do have to have that in there, so because it is required, like you said, and that was a learning curve. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, we almost no, and Scott, your comments, I think people are going to really appreciate it once the recording of this. So chime in anytime on your experience with this. So yeah, Mark, excellent comment. And otherwise, what happens is they have to manually drop down, pick from a drop-down list, and again, that just adds seconds, and the seconds add to minutes as you're doing a PCR. And that's the county that we're talking about here. Cool. Destinations look great. Okay, so forms. Now, the only thing in a billing side of the house that pertains to forms is that these can get exported out with the PCR. And so If you have a HIPAA disclaimer, not a HIPAA disclaimer, but the HIPAA form, patient refusals, things like that, you can add those forms here. And these forms also allow you to capture signatures, up to 4 signatures for that particular form electronically. So some agencies still require wet signatures. This allows you to incorporate a form within the ePCR with an electronic signature that then again that becomes part of the entire ePCR. Now this goes out as an attachment when you're doing the billing. And so one thing to keep in mind here, and I know it's not directly related to billing per se, but the reasons is a NEMSIS, as it's been explained to me, the reasons is when this form would be used. It is required and it is a NEMSIS 3 dropdown. However, the trigger for the form to make the form a required part of an ePCR happens here under disposition. So if you had a patient refusal, the form's always available and can be added for any disposition, but if you were to check, example, patient refused evaluation with transport or without, any boxes you check, this form becomes required.
Doesn't that just be a little counterproductive right there? Patient refused evaluation and care, but we transported them anyway?
I will defer that comment to NEMSIS because I agree. So how did you transport them, but they didn't accept any care? Yeah.
Right?
Okay. So I will refer you directly to NEMSIS for explanation of that. Now, I know I've had patients where they agree to go in the ambulance, but then they don't want an IV and they don't want you touching them. So that could be that example. But yeah, you're very good observation there. All right, and then status, it's either active or inactive. If it's inactive, it's kind of like the custom questions. It's kind of archived. It's not available to be used as a form. As soon as you hit it to archived, or active, excuse me, it's available. And then, of course, signatures, you check the ones that are required for that particular form.
I got a question on that.
Yeah.
So if I this active and inactive thing, so if I put all my forms in there, the reason I haven't is because I haven't pushed out my tablets to everybody yet. But if I put my forms in there and make them inactive, they're not going to be seen.
Not yet.
And they're not going to be required. The inactive, the status button will override the disposition button.
Yeah, you'll be triggering. So what you're doing here is it's basically like turning the form on and off. So you can hide the form. You can hide the form or make it live. That's basically what you're doing here.
Okay.
And it could be where you're building the form and you're not quite done building it. Maybe you're editing the content or whatnot. You don't want it really live yet, so you can just trigger it as inactive if you wanted to.
Okay, yeah, that's exactly what that's exactly what my next step is to put these forms in, and I just don't want to push them active till I've trained everybody. So cool. All right, well, there we go.
Excellent. Excellent. Guys, anything you want to add for Chief on the forms? Okay, and also I would like to welcome Brenda. Brenda, so we have a pretty informal virtual Thursday today. We've got only a few of you on, and so we decided to open up microphones to have a conversation on setting things up for billing. We're also recording it. So if you have a microphone and you're willing and able to participate in the conversation, I will unmute you. If you don't want to, just tell me once I unmute you, no big deal. But since there's only a few of you on, we're making this a more informal virtual Thursday. So Brenda, do you have a microphone? And I bet she doesn't. And just send it in the chat or question to say that you don't have one. If you don't, and you'd like to participate and talk with us, switch over in your audio on GoToWebinar, switch it from microphone to telephone, and just call in, and then you can join in on the conversation. Otherwise, just listen in and type in questions. Does it sound good? And I'm betting she doesn't have a microphone. So yeah, you can change over to phone if you like. Okay, anything else on forms we want to mention, guys?
No, not that I can think of.
Awesome, thanks, Krista. Okay, next up is going to be your settings down here, because I think everything else up here does not pertain to billing. Yep, we're good there. So down here, we're just going to go into the export settings. Okay, and so for Utah, this is for Utah NEMSIS 2.2.1 right now. What we want to do is we want to go in here and create a new export for, and so you're not turned on for billing, I don't think. So let me just check something real quick. We may have to go into another account to show you what that looks like. So what this means is under settings, you have export settings for Utah NEMSIS, but when I go look at you don't have billing turned on. So let me go to an account that has billing turned on so we can show you how that gets set up as it pertains to NEMSIS 3, because the NEMSIS 3 export is pretty much straightforward. We haven't sent the demographics in, but with NEMSIS 3, it automatically sends to the state upon completion of each PCR, and so that's a lot different than the billing.
Yeah, we're already doing that.
Exactly, you're already doing that. So with that said, I am going to back out of your account currently. After I do this, one of the key things, and again, it's probably not required for billing, but I know it is for NEMSIS, is the demographics data set for NEMSIS 3, and you got it all filled out, so that's great. Okay, so bear with me. What I'm going to do is I'm going to double check my demo account and see what we've got set for billing, and we may need to go into either probably an Ohio account that has, and maybe Mark, does your department do billing?
No, my account doesn't have billing on it. I use Mac's training account if I'm looking into that.
And that's Alabama, so we might go into that. Let me just see if this one has it. Yep, here we go. NEMSIS 3 medical billing export. Okay, so the other part of this setup is right here under the NEMSIS 3 medical billing. Okay, so the settings are right here. So this is for NEMSIS 3 state submission. We're good there. Now the NEMSIS medical 3 billing looks like this. You've got how you want this to be exported. Do you want to include the PDF print pages? Okay, so not only are you sending the data, all right, you're also in an XML format, you're also sending the PDF versions of the ePCR also, and the PDF print pages are what you see if you were to print out the report. So it's not all in that coded XML format. You can check that, okay? Now, you can check multiple, okay? The include files inside the medical billing XML export file means that the files will be embedded as part of the XML export file, okay? Or they will be included as part of a zip file. So if I understand this correctly, it's embedded within the XML here, or if you check this box, it's included as a zip file, so you've got the XML billing file plus the PDFs zipped as a compressed file. Is that right, Krista?
That sounds right to me. I can definitely verify with Lindsay when she gets back in, but what you're saying sounds correct to me.
Okay. And Lindsay will correct us, and if there is a correction, we'll post that with the update to this when we put it on our webinars by demand.
What files are going? When you say include the files, what files are going?
Yeah, so what files are going? Great question. So I'm going to show you. That call's been deleted. So we want this one. So files that are going include the following. Okay? the forms here. So we're in the different panels here on the left. So files that are attached here, not these files. These are the NFIRS or incident files. These are the HIPAA protected patient files. So if you took any photographs, if you have any signed documents that you took images of and uploaded, that goes out with the export, as does the signature forms. So
Okay, thank you.
it's under this panel here. Okay? And then so you can select one or more of these, and then here are the dispositions to submit. So depending on what you bill for, you check these boxes. Okay? And if you don't bill for agency assist, you can obviously uncheck those, and then those won't be part of a billing export. These settings here, okay, you can automatically export the data upon incident review, and then it will go to the billing company, or it automatically exported when exported via Create New Export tab, and I'll show you that. Or you can regularly schedule an export via Secure FTP. Regardless, these settings, and I know this from Lindsay, these settings, you may know these, but we'll get that from your billing company. So either you'll know it or the billing company will tell it to you and you'll tell it to us, and then we can get this entered, because typically this is all set when you're ready to go use billing. Our team, and I think it's typically Lindsay that does this, will get this all properly configured for you. And then of course we would test it, and once we have all the correct IP address, the port, username and password, directory if there is one, then we test it to confirm it's working. You can do the same, of course, because this is from the admin control panel here, or yeah, within admin. And of course it failed because we don't have the data, but it'll tell you if it was successful or not on that secure file transport protocol test. And that's pretty much it for setting it up on the admin side. Guys, from your experience, Krista, anything you guys would like to add on this for their sake?
No, not right now.
Are you going to cover what else pushes? I mean, are you going to cover what else pushes? I know you showed me those files, but what else pushes? The stuff off the patient tab, or what else pushes to the export? Yeah.
So what we'll do is we'll get an example. We'll find. Well, gotta be careful there. I got to see if I've got an example in my demo account. We don't want to use any live patients. So we'll see if I've got an example of what that export looks like. I'll show you here. Okay. So now if you're going to create a new export, now again, depending on what you choose here, it's either automatic upon incident review or scheduled automatically on a daily basis on a certain day. And again, these become enabled when I check this box here. I can do it daily or weekly on a certain day of the week if I choose to do so. That's going to be up to you and how you want to manage that billing export. Or we can go full manual, and I want NEMSIS 3 medical billing right here. We'll click Update. So, all unexported. So, generate patient export files for patients that have not been exported by force, subject to the following criteria. Up to 10 patients at a time. Only incidents that are complete and reviewed or green locked, essentially, are available for export. Export files containing incidents from newest to oldest, because it's doing it in batches of 10. Only incident data for the previous 90 days are included in the export file, so it does batches of 10 until you exhaust the 90 days. And then only patients that match your agency's allowed dispositions, remember back here on settings, will be exported. And then right now there are 0 patients available for export. So this button is disabled, so I can't do it because there's no patients available. Or I can do a single incident, and it will generate a file even if this patient or incident is before has been exported before. So if you need to resubmit a PCR, or in this case this is the incident number of multiple patients, for example, even if you've already sent it, you can resend it and generate that export file. And then you can go down to the actual PCR itself. So incident will capture 1 or more patients if there's more than 1 patient for that incident. And then the single PCR is, of course, just a single patient. After selecting the export from the drop-down list, please select the necessary calls. Okay, and click the export button. Again, only reviewed calls will be exported. Once the export button has been clicked, there may be a delay of up to several minutes, especially if there are files attached to it, because it's processing those files. And then once it's refreshed, you'll see a list of calls that were exported, plus instructions for the next step of the submission process, if applicable. And that'll be dependent upon your billing company and the instructions that I think are coded in based on, of course, state and billing company, or just billing company. Other exports automatically generate the file and email it to the final recipient. The next page will describe any remaining actions that need to be performed. Okay, in the event the file was lost and need to be resent, you can click on Export History tab to view files that were generated in the past, and that's exactly what we're going to do. So we're going to click up here on the first tab under Export History, and this will give us an example. So you can see back on January 3rd, we sent an NEMSIS 3 export. So this is a lot of fun to look at.
I lost your audio. Are you still
talking?
Is
it back? Yeah, is it back?
I can hear you now, but I didn't hear you for just a minute.
Oh, okay. So where did you lose me? What was the last thing I said that you heard?
Right after
you just switched to this page.
Oh, okay. So all I was saying was the receipt. So back here under Export History, you'll be able to see all of the exports, and all of your exports are stacked here. NEMSIS 3, NEMSIS 3 billing, and NFIRS. You can see as I scroll down, right? So you can click on receipt, and it will show you when it was sent. And then if you need to see the file that was sent, you can download it, and it looks like this. And so these are all matched to the NEMSIS 3 data set. So if you were to go look at einjury.01, it would give you an explanation for what this field is, and these are the data points for it. Some of it you'll be very familiar. This is blood pressure group, so vitals. Okay, true. The NV is probably a not value because this looks like they're consistent here. And so this is all of the information being sent. Now this was a test call, so there's probably not a lot of data here that we can look at. Now if we were to go to your account, we could see this in your account, but what I don't want to do is reveal any patient data directly, but the concept is that's it. This is what the billing company gets and will process. And then I don't know, and to be honest, Scott, I don't know what it looks like with files attached. So I imagine that there are PDFs that go along with this and that can be compressed and zipped up with the export to the billing company. So a lot of this will depend on, and we have billing companies we've got all the data for that we've worked with, especially in the state of Ohio, being the first one that we went live with. And so the billing companies in that state, we've got all of their information, and I'm sure as this rolls out with other states, and like Utah, we'll have your billing companies, the TriTech Suite software, as part of what those settings need to be. And then really, it's just a matter of exporting it and then bringing it into your billing software to process. So one of the things I think about with all of this, especially when you have medics like myself, would be like, man, this is a lot to fill out, and it just takes a lot of time to do these reports. Even a good, ePCR software like ours, it still takes time. But you can see the workflow and the not only for patient care and continuity of care, but also in order to get compensated for the care being provided. So the value of what they're doing on the front end leads us to all this on the back end, as far as processing it both internally for internal statistics and telling your story, and then again, the next step out for billing for compensation for the resources being used to take care of patients. Any questions on that? So it can be, again, under settings, it can be automated, or it can be done manually, and that's really going to be your call on that.
Okay, I'm gonna ask the question.
Go for it.
What about supplies?
Yeah, so supplies.
I mean, I've got a ticket in on it, but and I don't know if it was you and I that talked, or me and Nate that talked, or somebody, but let's talk about supplies.
Yeah,
Scott, you can ask any question except for that one.
Okay.
Oh wow, we've just run out of time for today.
Yeah.
No, so Scott, if I understand correctly, under the ePCR, we can effectively document all of our procedures. So for example, let's go right here to a procedure, and we'll do it, well, we'll just actually go look at the procedure. All right, so we can document all of this. So say we did, a crike, all right? There's supplies included with that. So what you're saying, if I'm hearing you correctly, is right now we can document everything that took place, but we really don't have a place to, one, document the specific pieces of equipment used, both disposable and otherwise, things that are billable, right, within the system. And then I would imagine you're thinking, too, that it would be nice if you had an inventory within the inventory module that it would automatically deduct it from your current inventory pars that are in the system. Am I hearing you correctly?
That would be awesome, but right now I would like to be able to put a billing form or something in there, because inside the billing module, the guys can go in, if I remember right, and like manually type, a size, a nasal cannula, manually type those type of things. But a full arrest, everybody knows it's going to be ridiculous, the amount of supplies we have, and I need to have a checkbox or something that I could just go in and go click, 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 click.
So, and here's the other thing. Someone's going to spell cannula, they're going to spell it all different things, so you're not going to have this consistency. You're not going to have this consistency and quality of data that you would otherwise get from the drop-downs, like even, and I hate to even say it, but like ICD-10 codes and things like this. So while you can certainly document this, and this will go out under billing, there's not a drop-down list, which is what you'd like to see, a pick list, and then of course maybe a billing code for the type of supply being used. Correct?
Correct. So a couple of the agencies around me are using that customization box up above your cursor there at the very top. Yeah. But they can only do one patient per incident. So you have multiple patients, you can only do that once. So it works for most things, but it's still not going to push to the billing company.
Well, I was going to say it lets you quantify the supplies used on a single patient incident, but it's not allowing you to bill for them really easily.
No, they have to go in and do that manually, yes.
Okay, so what this is an example of is a great user story. So as a chief of department that transports patients, I need, and these are multiple stories probably, but at the very least, I need a user configurable drop-down list for supplies. So just like you can pick and choose which ICD-10 codes, we either let you build the list, or we have a master list of common, hospital or pre-hospital supplies. You check the ones your department uses, and then when you go to add new here, it's from a pick list, and then you can quickly pick it instead of having to type it each time. Would that be a start in the right direction?
That would be a start in the right direction, even if we put it down in the files in the signature part, where I could go in and create it there, and as the patient's signing it, my guys can just do the pick list, because we do bundle billing. We pick the airway bundle, and this is what they get billed for, basically. We pick an IV bundle, this is what we get billed for. So somewhere in there where I could create it. I mean, it's already available in the custom tab. If I could just have that per patient under the billing portion here, I wouldn't even ask ERS to build it. Just let me do that part of it.
Yeah, I follow you. So having a list would be great, and then on top of that, the next user story would be to be able to bundle a select set of supplies into like an airway kit or into an IV.
Or just make it customizable so I can do it myself.
Yep. Love it.
I mean, because in the signature form, in the signature thing, I can put whatever I want in there. I can cut and paste. I can cut and paste a release statement. I can cut and paste an AMA statement. I can cut and paste a EMTALA statement. I can cut and paste all that stuff and just have somebody go and sign it with all that stuff, the PCS. So, if I can do that in all those, it just seems to me like it'd be pretty easy to, okay, here's your billing form. Now cut and paste whatever you want in there, or add it yourself.
Yeah, and I think the better place to put it is in. Yeah, I wouldn't want it in files and signatures. I think it would serve you and most all of our customers best if it's configurable here. So when you go to add new, you've got that functionality that you just mentioned.
Yes.
Before, I'm going to change that back because that's going to drive me crazy seeing it misspelled. So let's put it this way. We've got this recorded, and we'll consider it a user story that we will pass on to the product owner for, and it wouldn't surprise me if she already has this as a story, but especially for those that bill, the ability to do, to capture supplies and to include, we capture supplies now, but to be able to do it in a much more streamlined way that you described. A drop-down list plus an ability to bundle them as needed. So let's just do.
I talked to a couple people from around the country. We had some people here. We had a couple NFA classes here a week ago, and then again this week as well. And a lot of places, they don't bill. They bill for the transport. They go to the hospital and take what they need from the hospital. So they don't worry about the supplies. So
that's how we used to do it.
Yeah, well, I'm not 100% sure, but I think it's against state law here in Utah, because if I can go to Davis Hospital or something and just take whatever I want, maybe I'll be going to Davis Hospital more. But so anyway, that's my thing about billing. I knew you guys would be excited to hear about it.
No, duly noted, and I think it's really good. And so I'm just seeing if that user story is already here, because I'm sure billing and supplies are going to go together. I'm just doing a quick peek here. POs, no. And shout out if you guys see it. I'm not seeing it, but I'm just probably not picking the right keyword here to look at. Because we get a lot of requests that automatically, as inventory gets used, it gets taken from the inventory module. Like this one here.
Go back up there, Tom. I thought I saw it. It was on a PCR one. A little bit. Add supplies used tab on the PC. Oh, okay. Well, that's kind of it.
Yeah, that's automatically deducting it from the inventory. So it's something we'll talk about, and I know from being a medic, that kind of thing is nice. And then, of course, coupled with the ability to bill for those supplies is a pretty big deal. So, all right. So I know we're wrapping up a little bit early today than we typically do, but again, going through the billing and what needs to be set up on the front end, if you've already established and built everything that you need to build within administration for the ePCR itself, sans billing, then you're good to go. It's just those few extra things that you need to document that we pointed out today. So with that, let me just check and see if Brenda, do you have any questions for us, or Veronica? I know Veronica, you're just down the hall from Scott, but Brenda or Veronica, do you have any questions for the team?
Veronica said no.
Okay. And hearing none from Brenda, we'll call that good. And so, our team on the line, do you guys anything else that Scott, Brenda, or Veronica, or future viewers should know about billing?
No, you hit all the
I
points.
think you pretty much covered it. It's pretty straightforward once you get it set up correctly.
Yeah, it's just that little bit of work on the front end, and then knowing how you want the process to go once you actually start doing exports themselves.